Today we're talking about Watcher's Gift on junglers. This may sound super wonky to many of you, and in all honesty, maybe it is. We've seen it being played by our base jungler Captain Twig, primarily being used on Raven. He usually built it after boots, so quite a while after his first and second starter item being Bomber's Mask and Bluestone Pendant. And I was quite curious if it does really work out in regards to the values. I tested it on ZiSotto just for fun, obviously not the ideal character that you would use it on in most scenarios, but I just wanted to see what it does for him and how it feels like in a game, and I gotta say, it didn't feel quite as bad as I expected it to. Now clearly, Watcher's Gift delays your build and delays the access to certain items that may be core on your character. In addition, you have an extra item that you probably want to sell later into the game. In order to talk about effectiveness of this item, we have to analyze it from two standpoints here. One, the stats on the item in regards to how much gold this item will give you over time, so when it gets its value or its money's worth, and how it can benefit you if you keep it longer. And secondly, the stats of the item itself and how they benefit your character. Let's first look into the numbers a little more. I recently made a video where I tried to find the average value of Watcher's Gift in context of Lono's Mask, and the average value for getting 2 waves per minute is 60 gold per minute on this item if you get all the assists. At a price tag of 800 gold and a sell value of 533, it doesn't take all too long to get the extra money's worth through the passive. It gives you an effective gold loss of 267, which is made up for in just a few minutes, in less than 5 minutes to be precise. Now, if you buy this item as a jungler, the situation is a little different. Reason 1, you won't share as many waves. You will still share a lot of waves as a jungler, but sometimes you're just looking for gank opportunities or you're busy in the jungle and you won't get the wave. Second point here is that you may share waves with somebody else who has Watcher's Gift, namely the support. As only one of the people can get the passive of Watcher's Gift at a time, you won't get the same value out of it, or your support won't, which would be even worse because your support really depends on this item. It's also worth pointing out that at quite a few occasions you will be the one clearing the wave and not the one getting the assists of the wave, so that's worth keeping in mind as well. That said, it's quite a fair bit of extra value per wave if you get this item. While an entire wave shared by 2 people would usually give you 42 gold, it will now give you an additional 30 gold, bring it up to 72 gold in total, so almost double if you have somebody else who doesn't have Watcher's Gift and clears that wave with you and you get all the assists. As a realistic approach for the value of Watcher's Gift, factoring in that you may not get all waves and that there are other players that can have the item, I would say roughly 1 wave per minute should be reasonable. Obviously it won't always be a wave, sometimes there will be jungle camps where you get assists on, which will ultimately lead to the values just bouncing a little bit from minute to minute, but I think a total amount of 30 extra gold per minute is kinda reasonable. Assuming this, it takes us 9 minutes to go even with the sell value of Watcher's Gift, or rather what is lost when you sell the item, the 267 gold that are not given back to you when you sell the item as opposed to what you spend on it. In most matches you will have this item for more than 9 minutes. You will get watches around the 7-minute mark. You can get it earlier. I fell behind in this game quite a fair bit, but it shouldn't be that much earlier either way, so maybe around the 6-minute mark, but it will still be a few minutes into the game, and in this particular case I kept it till minute 23. If we assume these gold values mentioned before and you keep it till minute 23, we have a total of 16 minutes, and that means the bonus gold value that we get out of this time would be 213. It would be 480 minus the sell value loss, and that's 213. Now, if you kept the item for an additional 5 minutes, then you would get an extra 150 gold out of it. If we, however, assume a much more drastic value where you share 2 waves per minute, then the extra value out of it would be 693. So it really depends on how effectively you use Watcher's Gift, and that's pretty much what it comes down to when it comes to the gold value. If you really pay attention to letting your allies get the last hit so you only get the assists, and you being able to farm effectively and rotate to as many waves as possible, then you can get a decent extra value out of this. Though the value is by no means crazy, it's a tier 1 item at best, I would say. And while you get this tier 1 faster, it's also usually the last slot where the gold actually pays off as a full extra item or a full extra part of an item. And that means that for quite a while in the game, this item will put you behind. However, it will only put you behind as long as you assume that all the stats of the item that you otherwise pay for are wasted stats. And that is not the case. First of all, we have the second passive effect. This is getting health and mana back from every minion that gets killed, where you get the assist. 12 health and 10 mana is not a crazy value, but it's also nothing to scoff at. It's just extra sustain that you otherwise won't have, that allows you to stay in lane longer or stay in the jungle longer without having to back unless you really want to. Likewise, the other stats on Watcher's Gift are also pretty decent. 100 extra health for 800 gold is not that expensive, it is a nice extra benefit. And you get 5 magical and physical protection each. Nothing crazy, but a nice bonus. So overall, a little bit of defensive stats for those characters that can benefit from it, which applies especially to tankier junglers like Raven. And then, last but not least, we have the MP5, just a nice extra to use your abilities a little more. In combination with Bumba's Mask and its current passive, you can pretty much spam abilities on camps to clear faster if you have that much MP5, especially if you have Bluestone along with it. Does that mean I would recommend building it every single game? Most certainly not. Even Captain Twig himself did not build this item every game and basically chose, depending on the character, like I said, primarily building it on Raven. Plenty of characters, especially junglers, are dependent on getting an early item like for example John's Wrath to get their CDR online, or something that works for their early aggression like Heartseeker, and as such I don't think that many of them really have room to use Watcher's Gift all that often. There will be special occasions where you just need a little bit more defense, a little bit more health and tankiness, and then maybe it is a very nice choice. And there will be situations where you feel like you're just looking to farm as much as possible to get to a certain point in the game where I could imagine this could be a slight benefit as well. But overall, I don't think it is that suitable for most junglers, as the benefits that you get out of it are relatively limited. You have to min-max a lot, you have to coordinate with your allies a lot in order to get the most effective farm out of it, which in itself is a bit of a challenge, but I also feel like the item somewhat restricts you. By being so dependent on efficient farm through Watcher's Gift, you kinda force yourself to be a little less willing to gank really. If you really want to stick to those waves in order to keep your gold value up and working, then you may not want to leave a lane to rotate to another if it means risking losing out on some farm. And that's kind of what hinders Watcher's Gift a little bit. Again, this works much better on coordinated teams where you can really just communicate with your team how you want to use it, but in your average casual game, it's a lot hard to really make it applicable, and I don't think we'll see it all too much. Also because it just feels a little wonky and uncomfortable to lose that power spike or delay at the power spike that you would get from your first item otherwise. As such, I do believe Watcher's Gift will remain a niche case that has its perks, but is probably not for most. With that, thank you guys for watching. I hope this was informative, I hope this was insightful. If you aren't subscribed yet, feel free to click the subscribe button and maybe the bell, it really helps me out. See you all for the next one tomorrow. Duke Sloth, out.